So you want to grow Florida native plants and you're thinking about growing Florida's native firebush. What a great choice. Whether it's to attract butterflies or be more drought tolerant, this is an excellent plant. And now you've bought one and you want to know, how do I take care of that? Well, today on Wild Florida, we're going to talk about how you take care of Florida native firebush. Hi, I'm Jacqueline, the Wild Floridian, and welcome to my mini-series all about Florida native firebush. This is part of a greater series that is about Florida native plants. Why Florida native plants? Well, the more we know about Florida native plants, the more we'll love Florida and the better we'll take care of our wildlife. So if you want to start from the beginning of the series, go ahead and click on this card right here, or you can wait till the end and a card will appear in one of these four corners. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about how to take care of that Florida native firebush. So the first thing that you need to know in order to take care of your Florida native firebush is you've got to put it in the right place. See, choice and placement of a plant is one of the best ways to take care of it. If you put a plant that's a sun lover like the Florida native firebush, well, deep shade, it might grow, but not very well. And then you're going to ask a bunch of questions about like, why won't it grow for me? And why does it have this? And why does it have these problems? Well, it likes sun. So when picking a location for your plant, make sure it has full sun. So when it comes to taking care of plants, you really want to think about four things. The first one we already mentioned was sunshine. You need to have the right kind of sun for the plant. But the next three, it all has to do with air, water, and food. See, if they don't have the right levels of these three things, well, then it's not going to be very happy throughout its life. So let's get into them. Now, when we talk about air, water, and food, I'm going to kind of talk about them together because really it all has to do with soil. If the plant is in the right type of soil, it's going to be happy, right? Right. So what kind of soil does this plant do best in? The soil it likes the best, which is the native type, and the most common type of soil in this state is Miaca. That's that sandy, grayish, not even close to black soil that we have here across the state. And the reason it likes that kind of soil is because it likes fast draining. Because here in Florida, throughout the summer months, we get a lot of rain, and that's okay. It'll suck that rain right up. But it does not like its roots to sit in soggy water for a very long time. So by having that fast draining soil, which is created by the sand and the Miaca, it allows those roots to dry out pretty quickly. So we want to look for a place that doesn't hold a lot of water. And you'll know this when you're looking around your yard is, do you have deep puddles? If you have deep puddles in an area, you either need to do something to correct that or find a different location for the firebush. Now, every plant likes a little boost of nutrition, so adding some compost in when you're putting this plant in the ground is always a plus. But it doesn't need a ton. Remember, it's native to the state. It likes the natural soil. But a little compost in the early days when it's first in the ground won't be a bad thing. And speaking of early on with this plant, besides adding a little compost, you're gonna need to give it water regularly. And if you don't think you can commit to it, well, one of the easy ways is plant it during the rainy season. And that goes from June through October. It's gonna rain pretty much every day, and so you don't need to really worry about pulling out the hose and watering it or pulling buckets of water to it. So in the beginning, while it is a native plant, it needs a little bit of help in the beginning. So try to plant it during the rainy season. If you don't, that's okay. But just know that you're gonna have to go and water it every single day for the first couple months. Another thing to consider, right, we talked about the nutrition. It likes Miaca, but in order to help create long-term nutrition, this would have been a pineland plant, found in the forest areas on the edges. But the thing is that it would have had some natural mulching and composting from the trees that are around it. So something to think about is in the beginning is going and add some pine mulch right at the beginning. This will help block out competing weeds that are trying to get that same water and nutrition that this plant is trying to get. Yeah, it'll help. But what about trimming and pruning the plant? Well, you don't need to do it. Really, the number one reason for you to prune and trim this plant is because you're trying to get a certain shape, a certain look. So are you trying to get a hedge line, or you want to maybe make it into a firebush tree? Go check that out. But if you want that look, then yeah, you do need to prune and trim it. But if you're just looking for the more natural shrub look, no, you don't need to trim it back unless it's getting in the way of a structure or pathway. That would be really the only reason. So an annual trimming and pruning, not really needed. But what about increasing the flowers? I know with a lot of plants, you do need to go and deadhead them to get the next set of blooms going. And if you really want to get that nice bloom look, lots and lots of flowers, you need to do that regular pruning. But here's the cool thing about firebush. It actually deadheads its own flowers. all the time. It naturally does it, which makes it great, which means that you don't need to go and prune for deadheading flowers. That's pretty cool, right? I think that's cool. I like low maintenance plants. So let's kind of summarize that. So when it comes to sunshine, full sun is best, but it can take some semi-shade. When it comes to water, it does not like to have those roots in the water for a long time, but it does like a regular watering, and especially when it's getting first established those first couple of months. And you want to add some mulch pretty much every year, and some compost in the beginning when it's first getting established. And when it comes to pruning and trimming, unless you don't like the look and you're trying to get something special, you don't need to prune and trim it. This plant is pretty low maintenance. That's why I like it. I like low maintenance plants. And one other thing to consider for the care of the firebush is the weed that will probably be there the most. Yep, that's right, itself. This plant loves to self-propagate. When the birds eat the berries, they drop them all around, and usually because they're hanging out in that understory of the firebush, you'll find a lot of native firebushes popping up underneath. So what you'll want to do on some regular occasion is pull those, because they will start competing with that plant. And while that wraps up our mini series on firebush, we are going to be checking out other native plants throughout the year. So to make sure you don't miss those, go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. New videos each week on Tuesday and Friday, and sometimes a bonus video on Sunday. Hey, and while you're waiting, go ahead and check this out, or this, and YouTube thinks you'll like this. I'll see you soon. Bye.